So here to talk through this cave myopia puzzle by Takeya Saikachi with a river theme. I'm pretty sure it's for how the cave cells and the shaded cells have to flow together in different respects. The myopia itself is a rule taken from some loop puzzles, but it means where this cell or this cell, whatever is the closest shaded cell, will be in this direction. In all the unmarked directions, we can say that those right now have to start inside the cave. And so I'll actually begin this puzzle by marking a whole lot of inside the cave cells. Everything that's a number clue or an arrow clue can't be shaded, and everything that's in an unpointed to edge from an arrow clue can't be shaded. So we get this pattern at the start. A few places to start with that. One is maybe this lower left corner, and here's a kind of twisted instance of the checkerboard rule we often talk about. Imagine the shaded cell were right next to these arrows. This cave cell now can't connect with the rest of the grid. That would cause a problem. So we have to at least extend one in each direction. That marks off these cells around the 3, but this cave is still now isolated. It has to come through this channel or this channel to get connected, and still has to go at least 4 in this direction to make this work. That's going to make it too close to the 6 to take this cell, too close to this 2 to take this cell. So it's going to have to take this cell or this cell, which means the shaded cells around this are here and here. Come to lower right, marking in the cave cells as we did means this 3 is incompatible coming up. This 3 is incompatible for the same reason. This 3 could take a second cell here, but always had to take this third cell. That completes actually the 3s. This has to move up. The arrows always point to a shaded cell, so this has to be shaded 3 away. This then is paired and also is 3 in the top direction. And to the left, we have to not have shaded cells 1, 2, 3 away. This is to keep the shaded cells connected. The 2 has to come up, so we mark these off, keep the cave connected, avoid the checkerboard issue, and we now see we're going to have a shaded path here or here, and the cave's going to connect the other way. So it looks like we've got enough of the bottom solved. We can start moving our way to the top. Since we made progress in this corner last, we'll start back here. This 4 is actually a finished clue at this moment. Gives me these cells around the 7 to finish this. This 4 now only has 4 cells for it to take. Once I shade this off, I've got to shade one more in this direction, but this has to keep coming over to get to an edge of the grid. That now means 3 away coming down is a shaded cell, so I have to be less than that. 2 away has to be a shaded cell. So that myopia clue is now fulfilled. 2 to the right or 2 below this myopia clue is a shaded cell, so right next to this has to be a shaded cell, and this has to have a shaded cell to keep connected and get out from the grid. The 9 has 7 across the top row to take, so it can take 2 coming down, but actually could come all the way here. So I don't think the 9 tells me enough at this moment. Most likely it's these connected clues. And one thing to always watch for in cave puzzles is when you have either adjacent clues or clues that are connected to now be touching that are effectively adjacent. This 6 and 7 communicate to each other. 7's larger, so it's got to take more in the other direction, this vertical direction, than the 6 takes. And the 6 can only take one more cell, and if the 7 takes that same cell, they're both touching this 4 clue, that would cause an issue. So for the 7 to take an extra cell, it's got to take this cell down below. And in doing that, we'll see that this 7 is now incompatible with joining to the 4, which means the 6 doesn't join to the 4. The 6 takes these 5 cells, and then +1 or +2 is how 6 and 7 work. So this extra cell around the 7 is a really, really key observation. That means that we have to come up this channel for this to escape out. The 6 now has to come here to work. This 4 is finished, so we'll mark that into the grid. This arrow clue is pointing to something 2 cells away off the direction, so it has to point here in the direction. This 4 can take this cell but can't take this, so these have to come up to connect over to the 9. It's going to look like so. So now 6 in the top row, 7, 8 has to take this for 9. All these cells have to get to an edge, so this has to extend to here. For this to have a valid cave shape, this has to get to the edge here, and we connect through that side. So good cave myopia puzzle for this Wednesday challenge. I loved how these arrow clues gave a little bit of indirect interaction through the grid, including a little checkerboard sneaky trick down here, including setting up the 3-3 pattern here. And as in cave puzzles more generally, the communication across touching clues, but clues that differ in size by 1 or more, gave us the use of looking at this cell to really crack into the hardest part of the puzzle, which I think was the upper left. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon.